things are looking good with both Falcon and Dragon. The weather's cooperating as we count down to liftoff. As we get ready for the crew to walk out, let's go back to our team at Kennedy Space Center.
All right, thanks, John. It's now T-minus 3 hours, 40 minutes here at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The crew woke up right after about 11:05. I guess it was last night now because it's now Friday morning. And they listened to a weather brief, which we've heard the weather is looking great. They had breakfast, and we have been watching the suit techs from SpaceX fit each crew member into their own custom-made spacesuit inside the astronaut crew quarters. And in a few minutes, at T-minus 3 hours and 25 minutes, the crew will be making their way out of this famed suit-up room, down the hall, into an elevator down to the first floor, and then finally outside to be greeted by their families and a small group of well-wishers before they head out to the pad.
There are 3 Teslas waiting to drive the crew out to Launch Complex 39A. Riding in the first car, we'll have the spacecraft closeout lead and a couple of suit techs. In the second Tesla, we will have Shane and Megan, and they'll be sharing a ride with our flight surgeon. And in the third vehicle will be Aki and Thomas and another closeout lead. Of course, we're going to try and follow the convoy live every step of the way. It is the middle of the night / morning, so there we could see the Teslas awaiting the crew to take them to the pad. But we will try to bring you as close as possible to the crew without actually being inside the car with them.
Tracy, what's it like for you seeing the crew here in these moments before they walk out and remembering what your experience was like?
Like I said, this is the moment where the on gets turned on, and you're you're looking at your crewmates, and you know you're going to be doing something pretty exciting here. But there's it seems like a long way to go before liftoff because there's a lot of milestones to meet, and a lot of coordination that has to happen. So you're kind of in this meta state of excitement and focus.
We have another guest close by for launch today who looks forward to the day when she may be also suiting up in this room. Let's go to NASA's Jasmine Hopkins at the Operations Support Building 2 to meet this guest. Jasmine?
Thanks, Marie. We've seen astronauts suit up at the ONC since the Apollo days. What we don't often see is the hard work that it took to get there. I'm Jasmine Hopkins with NASA Communications, and joining me now to talk about the journey to becoming an astronaut is Jasmine Mugbelly. Thanks so much for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jasmine.
Absolutely. We are so glad to have you here. So you were selected to be an astronaut in 2017. Can you tell us how competitive is that process?
Yes, so it was very competitive. The year I applied, there were over 18,000 applicants. And I remember going through the selection process and meeting some of the other candidates who had applied. And it was then that I was sure I wouldn't be selected because they were all so incredible. And so, I feel incredibly lucky to be here. It was then that I was sure
there was something that made you stand out against the crowd. We know there's a lot that goes into being an astronaut. So can you tell us any of those specific requirements that got you where you are?
Yeah, so we do generally look for people with STEM backgrounds, but what I like to tell people is it doesn't matter so much what you do as opposed to why you do it and how you do it. I think it's really important for people to do something that they feel passionate about and that they love. And, as for the how, you should try to excel at it and you should do your best at it. And that doesn't mean you won't fail along the way. You probably should fail. That means you're pushing yourself. But if you look at our astronaut office, we have many different backgrounds. You have chemists, you have pilots, you have submariners, teachers, doctors, so all sorts of backgrounds.
Right. No, it definitely takes a lot to make up that team. And you now have 2 years of astronaut training under your belt, and you're awaiting assignment to your first flight. So can you tell us what that process is like?
For the training?
No, how do you know when you get assigned to your first flight?
Sure, absolutely. So, I've never been behind the scenes for the actual selections for assignments, but I know a lot goes into it. And one, of course, who fits the requirements for this mission, putting together it's not just a single person, but a whole crew that works together and has all the things they need to accomplish that mission. If you're talking about we need to do spacewalks to maintain the space station, what teams do we have to do that? If we're talking about going to the moon, maybe you want a geologist on that flight, someone who can land the vehicle. So it definitely plays into how the whole crew works together and meets the requirements for that mission.
Right, right. Well, we are definitely looking forward to when you get assigned to that first flight. I know that today is a big day for all of us, but how eager are you to see yourself in that suit-up room?
Yeah, just watching this today, becoming an astronaut has been a lifelong dream for me. So thinking about me actually being on one of these spacecraft and launching into space, it's still something that blows my mind that that's even possible right now.
Right, right. No, absolutely. Jasmine McBelly, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Now let's take it back to the KSC host desk with Kate.
Thanks, Jasmine. As you can see, we here in our in the suit-up room at the Neil Armstrong ONC building, we have a couple of VIP visitors greeting the crew as they are awaiting, and now they're departing. And it looks like we have a couple last, probably photo opportunities prior to the crew walks out. Now, one thing I do want to point out that specifically for the folks wearing these black flight suits, this is the suit-up team and partially will be the closeout team for the astronauts. This crew is, these suit technicians are responsible for assisting the crew not only in getting in their spacesuits, but making sure that things like unapproved jewelry or is not still being worn when the suits are put on, making sure that any personal items like glasses or medication are tucked in the pockets of the spacesuit. Basically just making sure that those personal items are in the appropriate places. Also making sure that the earpieces that the crew astronauts are wearing in each ear, making sure that those are seated properly, that making sure that everybody can hear. There's a lot that these folks do. It's all in the procedures which are followed along on the tablets that you see some folks carrying around. And yeah, so while it might seem a little chaotic at times, whenever during the suit-up process with lots of people milling about, there's actually a very specific process. Each astronaut has a specific suit technician assigned to them, and that suit technician is responsible for communicating and relaying basically status to that person's assigned crew member.
And I do want to mention the visitors that we saw a few minutes ago, and they were just departing after the interview with Jasmine. But that was Elon Musk of SpaceX in the room, and also NASA Acting Administrator Steve Jerzik in the room to have some private words with the crew. You may also have noticed that we don't hear ambient sound. We don't have audio from inside this room, and that is by design to give the crew, the suit technicians and the visitors in there some privacy before they go out to the pad. We also saw Thomas giving a hug to, I think it's number 28 on the far left, if that's a 2. I can't quite tell under her hair, but Thomas giving her an embrace just a minute ago. And I imagine that you get pretty close to this team because you spend a lot of time together, right, Tracy?
Exactly, and just like Kate was saying, these suit techs you get assigned to a specific suit tech. You work with them outside of this launch countdown and the dress rehearsal. Anytime you're in that suit, then that person is there to help you learn about the suit and fix any problems you have. And I have fond memories of my suit tech back when I was suiting up for the shuttle. Her name was Tony, and I still remember her today. And they really put their heart and soul into it, and they take serious the role that they have in helping you with your life-preserving suit.
Absolutely. And this crew trains quite often, not only here at Kennedy, but also at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne. We have Dragon capsule simulators, not only for the displays, but also physically getting in and out, getting buckled into your seat, all of that. The crew rehearses tens of times with the SpaceX team and the NASA team. So what we're seeing here really is just another another time. They could probably do this in their sleep at this point.
Yeah.
One thing real quick I want to point out before we lose this shot, the tiny, or not tiny, the small blue boxes there that you see behind the crew members that has kind of like an elephant's trunk, an umbilical that's plugging into the leg of each crew member. Gosh, I love the frivolity that we see here. It's so wonderful.
Gotta get a good shot.
Yeah, so I wanted to mention it because I figured we'd lose the shot. Those blue boxes are basically flowing cool nitrox or nitrogen oxygen mixture air, which is basically the stuff that you have in a scuba tank. We're trying to keep the astronauts cool while they're in their suits. While they're moving around, it can get a little warm, and we want to keep them comfortable until they are seated in their seat inside Crew Dragon. So that's what those small boxes are, and they will have those along with them inside the Teslas during the ride out as well.
I think we'll have time for a couple of social media questions, but another note just about the timeline. If you've been following along with all of our anticipated times, the crew right now we've seen is ahead of schedule in terms of completing their suit up process. This is a very limber, quick crew. We observed this during the dry dress rehearsal over the weekend. They were ahead of schedule getting suited up. We do still expect them to walk out at the anticipated time. We expect that will happen at T-minus 3 hours and 20 minutes. So about 9 minutes from now is roughly when they should walk out of the operations and checkout building. But up to this point, they've been a little bit ahead of schedule. Let's take a couple of social media questions while we're waiting for that to happen. Okay, this one, this is a good one for Tracy. Why are very specific times chosen for launches?
A lot of it has to do with orbital mechanics and where the space station is over Kennedy Space Center at the time. And so we are basically launching a vehicle to chase the space station, and it has much to do with that.
All right, next question. How long does it take to refurbish a Crew Dragon, and how many times can Dragon be reused? As we're looking outside the ONC, Kate, this is a good one for you.
Yeah, that's a great question. In terms of how long, it's hard to say right now because this is the first time that we did it, and the first time that you refurbish something, or really the first time you do anything, is generally the longest it will take you to do something. We have been working on the refurbishment of this Crew Dragon capsule since it splashed down in August of last year. So just under a year, basically to get it in a state and launch ready. We can see some well-wishers here gathering outside the Teslas as they're awaiting the crew to come and do the walkout and final goodbyes. But getting back to the question, the second part of the question was how many times can a Crew Dragon capsule be reused? We are certified for 5, but there might be plans in the future to try and increase that. That's obviously a discussion that happens, but down the road. But at this point in time, we're shooting for 5 reuses.
All right, we have time for another question from social media. And this one, when will the astronauts on the International Space Station return to Earth? Great question. So the Crew-1 astronauts, of course, that launched from here in Florida this past November, they are scheduled to return on April 28th, and they will be splashing down off the Florida coast. SpaceX hasn't narrowed down a specific location just yet, but they will be splashing down somewhere either in the Gulf of Mexico or along the eastern coast of Florida about 12:30 Eastern time on April 28th. And we see a few more folks coming outside in anticipation of the crew walkout. It looks like Elon Musk and Steve Jurczyk, the NASA administrator, taking their spots to the right of your screen. We also can see astronaut support crew members and some suit technicians gathered outside there.
We can also see some of the crew members' families. I recognize some of them there in the background. Those blue suiters, those astronauts that are there, are the unsung heroes. They are there as family escorts, personally selected by the crew members to care for their family, both immediate and the extended family and friends that are here. So hats off to those guys, because they are there to care for the families.
And Tracy, how meaningful is it for the families to have this opportunity to see the crew walk out?
You know, I'm glad you asked that because this is the first time that we allow family to be at this point, so the crew members get to see their family. During shuttle, that was mainly employees and our families were elsewhere, either on the roof of LCC or at Banana Creek. And so it is so important, and it will be vital for the crew to see their families and their families to see them just before they head out to the pad.
Like we mentioned earlier, pilot Megan MacArthur is married to NASA astronaut Bob Behnken, who flew on the Demo 2 mission last year, and so we expect to see Bob. I can't quite tell which one he is from this angle, but I'm sure we'll see it up close later. And it's just, I think it is so awesome that, you know, Megan was seeing him off a year ago, and now he's seeing her off to you know, do the same position, and I just think that's really cool. They are a power couple, and I love it.
Yeah, ultimate power couple.
Yeah.
And Tracy, I remember you saying, you know, we were talking about this earlier, and that leave the room and start walking down the hallway. We'll see them get into an elevator, and here is a shot of the elevator. So, excuse me, the hallway. And so where those, that is Joe Acaba to the left.
And Jessica Watkins, one of our newer astronauts there. They both are part of the VIT team, the Vehicle Integration and Test team office.
And we'll see the crew walk out. There's a doorway to the left of your screen where Joe and Jessica are facing, and we'll see the crew walk out of that doorway and come straight down towards where the camera is pointing any moment now. And here they come.
There they are.
Commander Shane Kimbrough, pilot Megan MacArthur in the front, Megan blowing kisses. Toma and Aki ready for their ride to the space station. And inside the elevator there is a poster you can see in the background. It has the signatures of folks who have worked on this mission.
So this is the first of 2 elevator rides that these guys will be partaking in today. The second, of course, being the elevator ride to almost the top of the structure next to the launch pad.
And we will see the crew walk out in just a moment, but first we want to hear a performance of America the Beautiful by preeminent jazz and classical saxophonist, composer, band leader, and 3-time Grammy winner, Branford Marsalis.
Crew walkout in progress on schedule.
So that was a beautiful performance we just heard from 3-time Grammy winner Branford Marsalis of America the Beautiful. And we can see some members of the closeout team heading out of the operations and checkout building. We expect the crew to walk out at T-minus 3 hours and 20 minutes. So about a minute from now, we will see the crew walk out, and you can see above them, they're teeny tiny from where we're looking, but stickers from past mission patches. And Tracy, I'm sure you have a sticker up there.
Yes, yes. From STS-118, one of my crewmates made sure that we were well represented.
I love the traditions that we have in spaceflight, and I love that we are getting to continue that tradition with stickers for these NASA SpaceX missions. You can actually see, I believe it's on the right-hand side of the meatball located above the doors. I believe that's where the crews for Demo 2 and Crew 1 placed their stickers.
We're going to have to widen the walkway here, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
And there we have a... I love this moment. They're now going to have the opportunity to wave goodbye from a safe distance. The distance is normal protocol for spaceflight. This is not a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This would be in place even if we didn't have that situation going on. But I love this moment. It's a wonderful opportunity to see the astronauts get some final farewells from their friends and family members.
And we've got Shane and Megan to the right of your screen, Thomas and Aki to the left.
There's Shane's wife.
Shane and his wife posing for a socially distanced photo.
Yes.
And it looks like Bob Behnken is there in a blue polo with the son of he and Megan MacArthur. Yeah, there's a better shot of Bob, Megan, and their son. What an experience as their son to do this twice.
Get to see dad and mom go to space.
He's going to think this is normal the
Yeah.
way all kids experience.
And you can see on the license plate of that Tesla recycle. You can't see it from this shot, but the other two Teslas in this convoy have reduce and reuse.
Oh, wow.
So
the first
that's
one is
pretty cool.
reduce, the second one is reuse, and this one is recycle.
a nod there again to Earth Day, the originally planned date for launch.
People are more impressed by the Tesla than by the rocket.
And we see those Tesla doors starting to close now.
Like I mentioned before, the equipment is already in the Tesla. The astronauts are plugged into that small box, and they're getting that cool air flowing through their suits once again. And the AC is turned up on high in those Teslas to make sure everybody's comfy.
Now you've seen some people go around to the backside of the cars. This is another opportunity for family members to approach and have a little bit more private moment with their crew member before they leave.
With the windows up, of course.
I can't tell you how meaningful this is for crew to have this opportunity to see their loved one this close to heading out to the pad. This is a nice change that we've made.
And this is the car carrying Shane Kimbrough on the right rear passenger side, and Megan MacArthur is on the left rear passenger side. And then this the third Tesla in the convoy here with the recycle license plate has Thomas sitting on the back rear side and Aki sitting on the left rear side. And as soon as the families come back around, we should see the convoy begin to pull away. Right on schedule.
How are you two, brother?
ONC departure on schedule.
All right, so we just heard that announcement that the crew has departed the operations and checkout building on schedule. They are now on their way to Launch Complex 30, scheduled to lift off at 5:49 a.m. Eastern Time this morning. It will be about a 15-minute drive with a full security escort across NASA's Kennedy Space Center and out to the launch pad. And as we follow the convoy, we'd like to share some words from the teams working so hard day and night to get this crew to the International Space Station.
Wishing Crew-2 good luck and a safe trip.
Good luck, Shane, Megan, Aki, and Toma.
Go Crew-2! Go Crew-2! Go Crew-2!
Winchester!
You guys are inspiration to all of us. Let's go Crew-2!
We want to wish you a safe and successful mission. Go Crew-2!
Go Crew-2!
As a female aerospace engineer in progress, I just wanted to say I'm beyond inspired by you and your family's endeavors.
And we want to wish the Crew-2 astronaut a safe trip to the International Space Station, aboard Dragon.
Hey Crew-2, looking forward to watching you guys launch today. The screens behind me should look familiar. I'm looking forward to getting to see you guys use it for real.
So proud you'll be representing all Yellow Jackets on the NASA SpaceX Crew Dragon to the ISS. Good luck!
On behalf of the Hunt program, Clear Creek High School has a message for you.
Have a safe and successful mission to space. Ganbatte kudasai! Yay! Yay! Yes, stop! Go Crew-2!
Go Megan MacArthur and all of Crew-2. UCLA is rooting for you.
Hey Toma, we wish you a great flight!
Godspeed, Crew-2. Go Falcon 9, go Dragon.
We want to wish you Godspeed. Yay!
Crew-2, have an amazing and safe flight.
Good luck, Crew-2, on your mission to help further research and human presence in space.
And we'd all like to wish the crew of SpaceX Crew-2 good luck on their journey to the International Space Station. I can't wait to support you guys when you get there.
Enjoy space, enjoy your mission. Go ESA, go ISS, go Mission Alpha.
We're going to be there with you as you're going through space, and we're going to be there with you as you're on the crew on ISS, and we're going to be there with you when you're coming home.
So the convoy will be making their way just behind us here at the press site. But for right now, a closer look at the Crew-2 spacecraft commander riding in this convoy. Here is two-time spaceflight veteran NASA astronaut Shane Kimbrough.
I love it. It doesn't matter what I'm flying, a helicopter, an airplane. It's just incredible. The views we get are great. The sensations you have. Helicopter flying to me is really a lot of fun because generally we're down in the trees. It's very challenging. And now learning to fly jets around here at NASA's been pretty incredible too. Had to hang up the helicopter keys, but pulled out some jet keys, and it's pretty nice. I'd always wanted to be an astronaut ever since I was a little kid. My grandparents lived in Titusville, right across from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, so I spent all child.
Ignition sequence start.
My grandfather was really the inspiration behind all this because he would drag me out to see anything launching.
Launch commit.
Turns out you can, so. Back in 2008, I flew on STS-126. We were kind of a resupply mission. So they called our mission actually the Extreme Home Makeover mission for the space station. We got a chance to bring up new bedrooms, a new bathroom, a new kitchen, a new gym, really outfit the station to be able to support more than 3 crew members. So that was pretty cool to be part of that. And then to go back a few years later in 2016 and 2017 when I flew on the Soyuz. That was an incredible time up there. The long duration piece was obviously a lot different than the shuttle couple-week mission. There's a different cadence, a different rhythm you have to get into, more of a marathon pace versus a sprint pace. Space shuttle for me was you're kind of rocking and rolling for the first couple minutes while the solid rocket boosters are on, and then it smooths out and it's pure acceleration. The landing coming back in is super smooth because you're landing on a runway. And Soyuz to me was kind of the opposite. It was a really smooth ride uphill, but coming back was really violent and pretty incredible that we made it through that. But they've been doing it for many, many years, and a proven product for sure. We do things differently down in Florida now than we did for shuttle, so it was just a whole different world. We kind of blended, I would say, the best things from shuttle during quarantine and launch day operations and the best things from Soyuz that we've learned over the years. And kind of now we have a hybrid of those really good things on launch day especially. I'm really excited about it. I love the Kennedy Space Center and all the teams down there that I've gotten to work with. I love it for our country, our nation, that we're launching out of the U.S. again. It's a great capability that we have, and just happy to be doing it again out of Florida. My name is Shane Kimbrough. I am the commander of NASA's SpaceX Crew-2 mission to the International Space Station.
Riding in the same car as Kimbrough is Crew Dragon pilot and NASA astronaut Megan MacArthur. She's about to embark on her second space flight, and this will be her first trip to the International Space Station.
My name is Megan MacArthur. I'm the pilot for NASA's SpaceX Crew-2 mission to the International Space Station. I first thought of becoming an astronaut when I was in high school. So my dad was a Navy pilot, and so I first thought, well, I'd love to be a pilot. We lived at Moffett Field Naval Air Station, which was connected with Ames Research Center. We'd hear the wind tunnels going, you know, at all hours of the day and night. And also it's where shuttle astronauts would come to do their landing and rollout training. And so I would see them, you know, come in their T-38 jets and get out in their spiffy blue flight suits and walk in to do their training. And I thought, well, that looks like fun. How do I get that job? And I knew that it was a long shot, right? But I also knew that I wanted to be a part of something like that, right? A part of this bigger thing of exploration. And then I kind of took this left turn into oceanography, but really it's all about exploration. We're not better equipped to survive underwater, you know, any better than we are in outer space. And so we need technology to help us explore those areas. So how do we do those things? You know, we can send rovers, we can send people, you know, we have to build the right kind of machines to support that. And so there's a lot of parallels. From graduate school in oceanography, I always had this idea in the back of my mind, and I went ahead and applied, and I got really lucky. Every launch experience is very unique to the individual. You know, we climbed aboard and there's that period of waiting, and you actually get a little bit uncomfortable. You know, your body starts to cramp up and you're ready to go. And then when the actual launch goes, it's indescribable. It's so much energy. You are moving so fast. One of my main focuses was capturing this free-flying vehicle, the Hubble Space Telescope. The really complicated spacewalks that were planned out, 5 spacewalks back to back to back. So it was just this tremendous rush of activity for really 11 days until we were ready to let the telescope go. 3, 2, 1, release. And back and away. Clear the antenna. We dream these amazing dreams, we have these huge goals, and we're going to be successful when we work on them together. When you think about the International Space Station and the size of that vehicle and the breadth of science that gets accomplished on that vehicle with all of the different countries that are participating, and then now we've added commercial partners where they have a vehicle that we are using to get us to our space laboratory. Have these big dreams where we look out to the horizon and this desire to explore the universe around us, and we're always going to be more successful when we work together to achieve these incredible dreams.
So there's the convoy there on your screen. They just passed behind us just moments ago on their way to pad 39A. Now, if you're wondering what the crew is listening to, first let's look at this Twitter comment. It's so cool seeing Bob see his wife off for this mission. Crew-2 almost a year after she did the same for him for Demo 2. I just love that. Like I said before, they are a power couple, and I can't get enough of it.
Absolutely. And they've got a really cool playlist that we had a preview of, but you were starting to talk about that, Kate.
Yeah, so the astronauts, of course, get to pick their playlist in their Tesla. So in the first car with Shane and Megan, I'm not sure which one they're listening to this instant, but they had selections like Learn to Fly by the Foo Fighters, a personal favorite of mine, Crazy Train, Ozzy Osbourne, Enter Sandman, Metallica. I was listening to that one on my way in today. City of Blinding Lights, U2. And in Aki and Tomas' car, Drops of Jupiter. That is a classic. Paradise City by Guns N' Roses. And, of course, Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins.
Yeah. Little Top Gun action. I love it. The NASA and SpaceX team inside the Launch Control Center here at Kennedy Space Center just watched this convoy pass by from their windows at the LCC, and we caught up with the NASA Commercial Crew Program Manager about what that moment is like.
As they drive down that road, down to Launch Pad 39A, and you can see the crew, and then to me, that's when it really becomes real. Not that it's not real every step of the way during preparations, but everybody in the firing room will stand up and it gets really quiet. And I think that's when everybody realizes, hey, we're about to go do this for real. And you can just feel the passion and the intensity. Everybody in that room and everybody in Houston and Hawthorne, you know, I think they're standing up too, watching, because they know, hey, this is going to be a great mission, but it's about to get really serious.
And now the crew is approaching Pad 39A and entering what is known as the Blast Danger Area, or BDA, and now approaching the base of the pad. But the teams have conducted internal go, no-go polls to make sure that this area was safe before they entered. And as they are approaching the base of the pad, we have some more messages from those with some personal connections to this crew.
Godspeed, and we'll see you when you come home.
Godspeed and have a great trip to the ISS. Yeah!
Crew-2! We're ready for you! Thank you for flying with SpaceX!
Good luck from the bakery and Simco Logistics team. Go Crew Dragon!
Someone to wish Crew-2 happy flight.
When I say crew, you say two. Crew.
Two.
Crew.
Two.
Go Dragon!
Go SpaceX! Go NASA Crew-2!
Crew-2 is launching. There's 10 seconds for this cheers. So good luck to the astronauts and Dragon engineers.
Go Shane. Go Megan. Go Thomas.
Go Aki! Go Falcon!
Go Endeavor!
And go Crew-2.
We are wishing you guys a safe mission to the ISS. Good luck and Godspeed, Megan, Shane, Akihiko, and Thomas.
So I'm here to wish Crew-2 a successful launch on the Falcon 9. Launch America!
Good luck, Crew-2.
On behalf of the Dragon Engines and Tanks engineering team, have a safe flight.
Wishing Shane, Megan, Tama, and Akihiko a safe flight and a productive stay at the ISS. Go Falcon, go Dragon, and go Crew-2!
Crew-2, Godspeed, and thank you for flying SpaceX.
Have a safe flight!
And it is an honor and a privilege to be a part of this and contribute in some way. And I couldn't be more excited to see you on this mission.
All All right, that was some messages from the SpaceX team and others that have been working so hard to get this crew to this day. We are looking at the base of Launch Complex 39A, and we can see the Falcon 9 first stage booster on the pad. Kate, I know SpaceX has done some extensive upgrades since you began leasing this, and we can't see the crew on screen here. They take a bio break once they get to the pad, so it'll be a couple of minutes before they ascend the fixed service structure to the right of your screen. That's that big black tower. And we also should be hearing an announcement from the Corps, specifically Chad Healy, that the crew has arrived at the pad, so that could be coming any minute.
Yeah, like you said, we have made a number of upgrades. In case if you aren't familiar with the history of this launch pad, it was originally built in the 1960s to support the Saturn V rocket for the Apollo program. And of course, this is where we went to the moon from. This is the launch pad where Apollo 11 took off from. After that program, it was upgraded to support shuttle, and then after that, SpaceX took over the lease for it in 2014, and we actually had our first flight from here in February of 2017, which was a cargo resupply mission to the International Space Station. So we've been busy. It looks a little different. We did make some upgrades to aesthetics, but a lot of it was safety driven. I believe, you know, the shuttle structures were iconic. It was, of course, heartbreaking for everyone to see the rotating service structure come down, but we did have to remove it for safety purposes, but also it was just unnecessary for what we would be doing to advance the next generation of human spaceflight. So I will say that the tower there does have the bones of that original fixed service structure. And so there are many things that are still original in there, like the telephone, which we will see later on. I think we'll save that for later, but also it's the same elevator that the shuttle astronauts rode up in as well. Yeah, so
Tracy's got her hand on her heart here.
It looks different, but there we have a shot of those elevators there. Yeah, elevators that don't have floor numbers, but rather foot numbers on them.
Yeah.
The Crew-2 astronauts will be hitting the button for the 255-foot level of this structure. But yeah, these are the original elevators, obviously maintained for safety, but they're so while it may look different, a lot of that history is still there.
And Tracy, this is the same pad, of course, that you launched from years ago.
Yes, very fond memories of it on my flight. So we got out of the Astrovan, the pilot on our flight on STS-118, Charlie Hobaugh, who we called Scorch, paused and looked up at the stack, and he stopped my crewmate, fellow rookie, Barbara Morgan, and I to pause and take a look at this mammoth spacecraft we were about to fly on, because he said this is going to be the last time you see this view. And I'll never forget that moment. It was very meaningful to me. I cherish it. But Barbara and I realized we got to hurry up. We don't want to miss our first launch. And so we scooted on, and he stayed there pausing to look at it. And I'll always remember that.
Hopefully we'll see these. I mean, if dry dress rehearsal was any indication, we'll be able to see these astronauts have a similar moment, do what is one of my favorite moments in the whole launch countdown, the astronaut lean back when they just try to take in, like you said, this ginormous vehicle that they're about to ride in.
Yeah, and we should see that. The first European to fly aboard Crew Dragon and the first European to launch from U.S. soil in more than a decade.
Okay, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I tend to work a lot, even outside of work. You know, going to new places, meeting new people. I like new experiences. I like to learn all the time. My name is Thomas Pesquet, and I'm a mission specialist for NASA's SpaceX Crew-2 mission to the International Space Station. On board the Crew Dragon as a mission specialist, everything that's manual is in our ballpark. If we have to open a hatch, if we have to use the emergency equipment, if we have to open or close valves, if we have to manage the cargo and the stowage, all this is going to be on us. I remember as a kid, everybody's an interest, but mine was space shuttles and planes, and I had the posters in my room and the complete kit. And so I went into math and physics, and then I became an engineer. I went into aerospace. It seemed natural at the time. And then I got a chance to become a pilot, which was kind of another piece. We have an astronaut selection every 10 to 15 years in Europe. And I didn't think it was going to happen, but I passed all the selections and I made it. So really it's been a dream. I've been so lucky. If I would have pictured it when I was a kid, I couldn't have pictured it any better than what really happened. The space station, to me, it's a step for exploration. So we're preparing the next steps that are going to take us, to the moon and to Mars. And then at the same time, we're using the space station as an orbiting laboratory. So every day you do research that you couldn't be doing on the ground. You have to prepare for the spacewalks. You always prepare it very meticulously, very thoroughly. And then once you go out, and just your adrenaline is very high. And it's also physically challenging because you're going to be for 6-7 hours fighting against that spacesuit, because that spacesuit is inflated with air for you to be able to breathe, which means it's going to resist your movements. So those are huge, big memories that you have, but really also sometimes the small things, like the fun that you could have. It's one of the big achievements of the space program is to bring people together. That's what makes us go. In the future, I think our programs are going to be more and more ambitious. So we're going to need more than just one country. No single country in the world can do it on its own. So I think it's the partnership that takes us forward. It makes you better, it makes you achieve more, and I think that's the path we're in. The space station has paved the way, and every future big space program is going to have to follow the same path.
So there we can see Shane and Megan have made their way up the tower. They're now climbing the stairs to the level where the crew arm is located. Before Aki and Thomas make their way to the elevator at the ground level of pad 39A, let's get a look at mission specialist and JAXA astronaut Aki Hoshide. Once at the space station, he will be part of the first ever direct handover from one Japanese astronaut to another.
I meant to check this, but do you know when I was selected as an astronaut? 1999, thank you. I always get mixed up there. So I was born in Tokyo, Japan, and then from age 3 to 7, I actually lived in New Jersey because of my dad's job. In high school, I went to Singapore for 2 years. Went to Keio University in Japan. Got my degree in mechanical engineering. And then right after college, I joined the Japanese Space Agency. I have dreamt of becoming an astronaut since my childhood and tried a couple of times in astronaut selection. And on my third try, got selected as an astronaut candidate in 1999. So on my first mission on STS-124 on the Space Shuttle Discovery, that was my first flight, so I thought I would be nervous, but my crewmates were already like my family, so we were just chit-chatting inside the cockpit.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff of Shuttle Discovery.
Hoshide heading for a half year on the International Space Station.
My second flight was a long duration flight. We launched on a Soyuz capsule, docked to the space station, and did a lot of science and spacewalks. Flying on 3 different vehicles, that's going to be amazing. The new spacecraft, Crew Dragon, it's a new technology, new layout, new operation, and I can't wait to actually experience it. So I guess the difference would be it's a brand new vehicle, a lot less switches. It's like a smartphone, I would say, which felt uncomfortable initially because as an astronaut, you're like, where are the switches? Which button do I have to push? So initially I felt a little awkward. Then after training, you get adjusted and you understand, hey, this is how the system works and how can I, as a crew member, help out the mission. It's a privilege, actually, to work together with these people and look forward to actually doing the mission and spending more time working together. I'm Aki Hoshide, JAXA astronaut and mission specialist for NASA SpaceX Crew-2 mission.
All right, that was a look at Aki Hoshide, and we can see the astronauts inside the crew access arm. That walkway. Here are Commander Shane Kimbrough and pilot Megan MacArthur. Making their way up behind them are ESA astronaut Thomas Pesquet and JAXA astronaut Aki Hoshide. And we'll be seeing them make their way up. There they are coming up the steps. And they'll be stopping to use the phone. Shane and Megan already had the opportunity to do that. That phone is up where you see the person in the black suit. That looks like Jessica Meir, number 38, part of the closeout team at the pad. And this is a shot inside the white room. Astronaut Shane Kimbrough to the left of your screen, and to the right you can see the side hatch of the Crew Dragon Endeavour is open in preparation for the next milestone, which will be crew ingress in just a few minutes. If you're just joining us, you're watching live coverage of NASA's SpaceX mission known as Crew-2. Good morning and welcome to Kennedy Space Center in Florida. I'm Marie Lewis with NASA Communications.
And I'm Kate Tice, Senior Certification Engineer at SpaceX. Joining us today is NASA astronaut Tracy Caldwell Dyson. Welcome, Tracy. We're so happy that you're able to join us this morning.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Marie. It's great to be here.
So as you can see, the crew has already arrived at Pad 39A, where Falcon 9 will lift off at 5:49 a.m. Eastern Time. We can see that Megan and Shane are in the white room here, undergoing final checkouts and just comfort checks with the suit and closeout team. One thing that we'll see them do momentarily is the closeout lead there on the right-hand side with the tablet will provide them with a black Sharpie, and they're going to actually add their signature to the wall to their right of this white room. We named it the white room to keep, again, in space tradition from previous human spaceflight programs, but something different this time. We're actually having all the astronauts that fly on Crew Dragon sign their names. And there's a shot inside the crew tower, it looks like, where Aki and Thomas are now using the telephone for a final goodbye. Now, Tracy, do you want to talk a little bit about the significance of that particular telephone?
I think it's a great way to surprise your family and friends on launch day. I know that my parents were not expecting it, and it was probably one of the more emotional moments for them.
And in a moment, we will see Commander Shane Kimbrough. Here he is climbing inside Crew Dragon Endeavour. We call this process ingress. And pilot Megan MacArthur following.
So we can see the closeout team assisting the crew.
Crew ingress has started, on schedule.
Announcement there that we are on schedule with our activity here of crew ingress. Like I was saying, you can see the closeout team assisting the crew as they enter the capsule to assure that they don't ding their helmet or any part of their suit on the hatch as they're entering. There's also some protective coverings around the hatch itself, but just to make sure that there's a clear path to entry, we now see suit technicians assisting the crew getting settled and will help the crew members get buckled in. The harness that we see coming into the picture here is not just your normal seat belt, although it does function in that purpose. It's a 5-point harness, and the crew will start to buckle themselves in, and kind of like when you get on a roller coaster, like you get your initial fit up, and then your safety team member comes over and makes sure that you're locked and loaded and ready to go. This is a great shot because we can actually see the touch screen, the LCD display screens above the crew, They might look in an awkward position right now. That's just because the seats are actually in a rotated downward for crew ingress. After everyone is all buckled in and the communications and leak checks have been performed, the seats will rotate back so that the crew has easier access to those display screens. But in addition to those display screens, they also have a tablet either on their side. You might see some of the crew members have it velcroed on one of their legs, and they're also able to follow along with what's going on in the action using those tablets.
And again, we see Commander Shane Kimbrough in the foreground of your screen. This is a shot from inside the Crew Dragon Endeavour. Pilot Megan MacArthur sitting to his right. And momentarily, we will see ESA astronaut Thomas Pesquet, who's on the phone right now, and JAXA astronaut Aki Hoshide in the background, ingressing Dragon. And so we're going to go over to Hawthorne, California for our NASA and SpaceX friends there to take us through the rest of this action. Gary, Jesse?
Hey, Marie, great to be with you here from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. We're following along on all the action going on over at the Cape from here in California. The SpaceX flight control team monitoring the progress as the crew is ingress. Again, right now we're watching crew ingressing the Dragon capsule, which is just a spaceflight term for climbing aboard. You'll hear a lot of these space terms in the coming hours and days. Ingress is just what we use when crew members are getting into a spacecraft or an airlock, while egress means the opposite. They're exiting. Before climbing into the capsule today, the crew completed a foreign object debris check, or FOD check. That means they themselves have to be inspected for any substance or debris that isn't supposed to be on them or their suits, which could potentially cause damage to Dragon. In fact, we also heard an informal comm check. We heard the voices of Shane Kimbrough and Megan MacArthur in the seats right now. They'll do a more formal poll as we get later into the ingress procedures.
And we got some really cool views of the second two astronauts walking through the crew arm, making their way to the Dragon capsule. And to help protect against debris, the crew has covers on their boots as well as on their umbilical port on their suits that need to be removed before they can ingress. And once the FOD check was complete for the first two astronauts, Commander Shane Kimbrough ingressed first, followed by Megan. And then next up, we will have Aki and Thomas, who just made it to the white room that you can see on your left-hand screen. And Megan and Commander Shane Kimbrough are now strapped in. They're getting all hooked up to their umbilicals, and the umbilicals allow the crew to have their comms through their suit, air to help keep them cool, as well as delivers nitrox for suit pressurization. And as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, the suit's primary function is to protect the crew in the event of a cabin depressurization.
Now, there are 4 seats configured right now inside Dragon. They're numbered 1 to 4 from right to left. When you're looking at the seats, you can see Shane Kimbrough now positioned in seat 2, or the commander seat. Megan MacArthur beside him now in seat 3, which for Crew Dragon is the pilot seat. Aki Hoshide will take the seat number 1, which is on the far right of your screen, and it's the left seat. Thomas Pesquet will be in seat 4, the left of your screen. That's called the right seat. Now, it's worth noting that Megan is sitting in the same seat in the same capsule that her husband Bob Behnken sat in during the Demo 2 test flight to the space station last year. Directly in front of the crew members, you can see sort of to the top of the panel that's on the right there, there are 3 displays that they'll use throughout the flight, getting insight into Dragon systems, seeing any alerts or issues with the vehicle, and if required, taking control and manually flying Dragon.
Coming up, the crew will do a comm check, and Megan and Shane Kimbrough actually did an unofficial or informal comm check, but there will be a formal comm check once all 4 astronauts are in their seats. And that is to make sure that they can hear mission control, mission control in Hawthorne, and then their seats will be rotated into position for launch once those comm checks are complete. So what you're seeing right now is, I believe that is Aki ingressing the vehicle.
On the far end, it looks to be Thomas. Thomas taking the right seat, the left from if you're looking directly through the side hatch, but it is the right seat. He and Aki both have the same role as mission specialists. They're just far enough away where they don't necessarily have access to that display panel that Kimbrough and MacArthur will use as soon as the seats rotate.
Mission Specialist 2 from the capsule, come check.
Hey, bienvenue au Dragon, Thomas. Got you loud and clear. How me?
I got you loud and clear, Chad. Thanks a lot. Good to be here.
I love how fast that happens, Jesse, as soon as they get into the seat. They do have those umbilicals that they were carrying that was providing air, some conditioned air to their suits, and was able to pressurize it when they were in the ONC building. Those suits will provide pressure to the suits when that comes later in the countdown. First is the comm check. So yeah, Thomas plugged that in, and that's that informal comm check. They're going to do a formal poll with all the launch support teams as well as the mission control teams here in Hawthorne, California. Aki Hoshide entering through the side hatch now.
Yeah, definitely very exciting, Gary. This is one of my favorite parts, is watching them ingress onto the vehicle. It's really getting real. You know, we have been watching them since the suit-up room, but now they are officially on the vehicle, getting strapped in, getting ready for this.
SpaceX MS-1, checking in.
Aki, Dragoni, yo koso. Welcome to Dragon.
Good to be here.
Very cool. We just heard Aki's informal comm check. Again, once they are all strapped in, all their umbilicals are hooked up, their harnesses on, then they will do an official comm check. And followed by that official comm check will be the seat rotation. And you can kind of see on your right-hand screen, the seats are rotated upright right now, but when they're getting ready for launch, they will rotate upwards, looking at your screen, so that they can access those display panels that are right above them.
That's right. Accessing those display panels will be key. In fact, some of the previous missions that we've watched, Demo 2 as well as Crew 1, it was seconds before, I think the seat rotation was still actually rotating when the commander and pilot pulled up their fingers and started pressing. They have a lot of procedures that they got to get through, make sure that they're, yes, you can see already, Shane Kimbrough already accessing the panel. Yeah, those checklists are some of the things from the crew side that they'll have to do. Again, some of those key visual milestones. Well, first are the audio milestones. We'll do the formal communications check with all the ground teams, making sure everyone can check in through the various communication pathways that we have on Dragon. There's some communication lines through the ground. We also have communication through ground stations, as well as TDRS geosynchronous satellites. So they'll test all of these different pathways, making sure that the crew can hear and all systems are go before they begin those next couple of milestones. Jesse, you mentioned the seat rotation. That's a very visual milestone, as well as the leak checks. We saw that again in the ONC building not too long ago, but they'll do another one here before they, the advanced teams that are there now that are currently preparing the crew in their seats before they go ahead and depart the access arm and leave the blast danger zone.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, they did perform those suit leak checks while in the suit-up room at the ONC building, but they'll do that again right before liftoff, and that's because, you know, they're strapped into a whole new system now. They're strapped into the Dragon system officially, so we want to make sure that their suits are good for liftoff today. Again, we have all 4 astronauts on Crew 2 sitting in each of their seats. These are custom seats with their custom suits for each astronaut. And it's almost like its own entire system. It's almost like they are inside of a vehicle inside of a vehicle.
A spacecraft within a spacecraft.
Right.
That's exactly right. That suit will hold pressure. Just in case there is any breach and that causes atmospheric pressure to decrease. They do have that redundancy with the suit itself, providing pressure and holding throughout some of the more dynamic phases of flight. That includes ascent. This is very important until they reach an orbital insertion. It's not too long after they get into a healthy orbit. You got checkouts of the Draco engines that will provide the navigation and some of the thrust needed to make its way to the International Space Station, but it's really not too long until they start doffing or taking off their suits and getting into a position to get some shut-eye. Actually, they got a long flight ahead of them.
Yeah, it's about a 23.5-hour flight, so they will want to get comfortable. You can see the suit techs are there helping all 4 astronauts get strapped in, preparing them for these suit leak checks and comm checks coming up here shortly. And you may have seen some of them holding a tablet. That is so that they have access to those procedures. Each procedure has very specific and intentional steps that they need to follow. And the astronauts also have a tablet themselves that they can follow along those procedures.
All right, 2 hours, inside 2 hours and 34 minutes from launch. We're going to stand by and wait for those communication checks. Meanwhile, let's check in for an operational update with John Innsbrucker for the latest health on both vehicles. John.
As Gary said, just over 2.5 hours remaining in the countdown for the launch of Falcon 9 with Dragon on the Crew-2 mission to the space station. The Dragon launch ops team has completed their major activities to prepare the spacecraft for the astronauts. Checkouts are complete of the major systems, including the escape system. And as you can see on your screens, ingress of the astronauts is well underway, all 4 crew members inside the Dragon capsule, and there are no issues in work. We're also listening right now for the Dragon team comm checks with the crew. That'll be coming up momentarily. Now, the Falcon 9 team is located in firing room 4 in the Launch Control Center at Kennedy Space Center. They're settling in for final checkouts and then propellant loading and launch. We've been hearing some of the comm checks as the engineers get on station here in the last 15-20 minutes. Now, the Falcon 9 team will also do comm checks with the crew. That'll happen at about T-minus 2 hours, or about 30 minutes from now. Currently, all systems are go on the launch vehicle. The range continues to report no problems. The weather forecast continues to be acceptable. We're looking at weather not only at the launch site, but around the world. We need to make sure conditions are acceptable if Dragon has to splash down in the Atlantic in case of an escape. We're also monitoring contingency splashdown locations if the crew had to come back to Earth before docking with the space station. Now, if this were to happen, SpaceX and NASA are coordinating with the U.S. Coast Guard to ensure crew safety upon splashdown. That includes extra ships and air assets to patrol the 10 nautical mile keep-out zone. This will help mitigate safety concerns for any boaters who may approach the landing area. But right now, as the clock continues to count down, all systems are go at T-minus 2 hours, 31 minutes, and 32 seconds. Let's head back over to Jesse and Gary, who are also here in Hawthorne with me.
Thanks, John. In order to get to where we are today, our 3rd human spaceflight, it took years of hard work. The development of Crew Dragon really started with Cargo Dragon because Dragon was designed from the beginning for flying humans to space, so much so that even the first Cargo Dragon had a window. Our teams implemented a number of design upgrades to make sure both Dragon and Falcon 9 are suitable for flying people, and then put both vehicles through thousands of tests to prove their safety. At SpaceX, we believe in a process of continued iteration that allows us to continuously improve the designs of all of our hardware. Now, with that said, Dragon underwent a few improvements since it last flew people.
That's right. Components have been added to the Dragon propulsion system that increases pad abort performance by over 10%, which increases launch availability by more than doubling the onshore wind limits. A fly-around capability was also added, which will allow Dragon to circumnavigate around the International Space Station post-undocking in order to take pictures and document the condition of the station. As you might recall, this was a maneuver the shuttle used to perform, but since its retirement, there hasn't been any spacecraft that has been able to provide detailed imagery around the space station. You could equate this to being able to walk around your house and check on it to make sure nothing is in need of repair.
We've also added and improved some interior cargo stowage locations to make it easier for the crew to access items that they will need during free flight. And lastly, the paint on the mud flaps and Super Draco cartridges were changed from silver to white. While this may seem like an aesthetic change, it actually results in a lower equilibrium temperature on orbit for a given solar input. This has the advantage of increasing return availability by improving structural margins during splashdown.
So a lot of preparation has come into ensuring the safety of these missions, and we're really excited to see Crew-2 lift off from the Kennedy Space Center later today. Still standing by for those communication checks. You can see some of the suit technicians getting them situated. They become quite pros at this, Jesse. Just as soon as they got into the seats, you saw some of their gloves were off. Those gloves specially designed and form-fitted to each of the astronauts. The gloves are now in place. Very shortly, we'll be hearing the communications checks. Some of the other milestones that'll happen very quickly as well will be the seat rotation. It'll be from this position that allows the suit technicians to access each of the astronauts and help them get buckled, strapped in, and the umbilicals checked out. And then, of course, there'll be the suit leak check.
And we got a cool view looking from outside of the Dragon capsule in through the hatchway. And some fist bumps there from the suit techs to the astronauts.
It's an exciting day for everyone, really. The anticipation, I can't even imagine. You want to, just seeing the pilots and the commanders from previous missions accessing the panel, wanting to get through their checklists. You know they're really soaking in this moment, but at the same time, they are thinking about those next steps. What do I have to do to prepare to make sure we're ready to launch on time today?
Exactly. They must be so excited, but this is their job at the moment, right? They're actually...
SpaceX Endeavour, we're in section 1.3, ready for comm checks.
SpaceX copies. Stand by for umbilical comm check. CDR, PLT, MS1, MS2, comm check.
CDR, loud and clear.
PLT, loud and clear.
MS1, loud and clear. And MS2, loud and clear.
And core, loud and clear. Umbilical comm checks complete. Stand by for ground station comm check.
If you're just now joining us, they are performing comm checks right now, so that is what we are waiting for. They've done a couple so far.